Food banks were critically important for many during this COVID-19 crisis. Charnel Anderson is one of TVO's Ontario Hub journalists covering the Northwest. She wrote about Thunder Bay's experience earlier this spring, and she joins us now for an update from Red Rock, Ontario. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jan.
Now, you wrote about a centralized food bank as a solution to the closure of Thunder Bay's food banks. How does a centralized food bank work?
So, as you know, the pandemic has disrupted just about everything, including food banks. Many food banks are staffed with elderly volunteers. So, early on in the pandemic, many food banks just decided it would be safest to shut down in order to protect them. But of course, people still need to eat. So, in
Mhm.
Thunder Bay, the solution was to operate this one central citywide food bank. Um, Food banks in Northwestern Ontario operate in kind of a network. The head of this network is the Regional Food Distribution Association, also known as the RFDA. Um, and they're not a food bank at all. What they do is they receive and distribute donated food to member organizations across Northwestern Ontario. But the RFDA decided to take the lead on this issue. And early on, they met with some of the members, and they all decided that it would be best to shut down in order to support the Central Citywide Food Bank. And the central model, it ran every other Friday starting April 17th outdoors on the CLE grounds in Thunder Bay. I had a chance to visit it, and uh, I thought it was really well organized. You know, there were a lot of volunteers running around unloading food, helping to direct traffic. They had two drive-through areas set up for people and two walk-up areas adjacent to bus stops. So it was very well organized and quite efficient from what I saw.
But of course, there are some people who have concerns, organizations have concerns with this model, correct?
I think the biggest concern with the central food bank was that it was one central food bank. You know, most of the other food banks in Thunder Bay shut down. Some of them were encouraged to shut down. They didn't all want to shut down, but you know, people who were hungry at this time and they needed the extra food, they had no choice but to go to this one central model. And one advocate I spoke to was worried that, you know, this one model would limit access to people who needed food. Of course, and then there was the issue of safety. Um, as I said, the RFDA and its members thought that this would be the safest way to protect their volunteers and their clients. Um, but advocates say, you know, they were concerned about people who had to carpool or had to catch the bus to the food bank because, you know, this was at a time when we're being told to keep 6 feet away from each other. So what this advocate told me is they said that this model asks people to put their hunger before their safety. Um, you know, food banks are starting to open up again now, but there's concerns about a second wave of COVID-19 coming. And I think people would prefer to see more locations across the city if we do, in fact, get that second wave.
Charnel, I want to thank you so much. Again, another very important story from Northwestern Ontario. That's Charnel Anderson. Thank you again.
Thank you.
The Agenda in the Summer with Nam Kiwanuka is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.